love, obviously. Love is not what most of us have practiced for most of our life. How's that for a pretty broad statement? The beginning of love is the overcoming of self-love. And that's a lifelong process. I don't care how far along you are in the spiritual life. All the spiritual literature talks about, getting rid of the passions, becoming humble, which is the first step in everything. And you tell me, is that not a lifelong pursuit? It's a very worthy one, a very glorious endeavor to pursue destroying the love I have for myself. Or better yet, transfiguring it and transferring it to the love of Christ. Love of Christ and love of others. I give myself to others, then I know, hopefully, at least I'm practicing what I could be, leading me to the kingdom of heaven. I could be practicing it. Even that's no guarantee. Depends on why I'm doing it. So that I can love myself even more. See, it's tricky. The enemy's got us in a deep bind on this one. So when we hear this famous, you read it on walls and you read it on banners, John 3:16, right? What you just heard. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that through Him the world might believe. And here's the question now of what is belief? I believe in one God, the Father Almighty. You can only say that. Notice where it comes in the liturgy when we say, I believe in one God, the Father. What comes immediately before it? Do you remember the line? Let us love one another. Let us love one another. So that with one mind, or one accord, we can confess this truth, this reality. You can't even say a prayer without love, without being at peace with everyone. And what that peace means is, I have to go up on this cross. The reason that we do this gospel the Sunday before the exaltation of the Holy Cross, which is coming up Tuesday. The reason we do this gospel is because ahead of us all is this reality. This reality. If you would like to live forever with Christ, be with Him forever, and who wouldn't? The reason we're not wanting to sin, not wanting to harm ourselves, others, hurt God, offend Him somehow. The reason is not because we're afraid of hell, or afraid of dying, or afraid of this, or afraid of fear, depression. It's because I want to be with Him forever. I want to be with Christ forever. And when I do this thing, it's like, do I want that? Whatever that is. Or do I want to be with Him forever? This is the only reality, the only thing, the only truth that I can hang my hat on, that I can be proud of, that I can boast of. Like it said in the epistle today. I can be not proud of anything except Jesus Christ crucified. And of course glorified too. And of course coming again, hopefully, to save each and every one of us. Now that kind of love, my dears, does not grow on trees, no pun intended. It doesn't grow like just pop up overnight. And it's not the kind of love which is, quote, natural to us. The natural love that we have when we're born, even when we're baptized, unless we cultivate it, unless it's cultivated in us by our parents, by our godparents, by others, is a selfish love. Just ask any parent of a 2 or 3 or 4-year-old. They already are exercising that natural self-love that has been our legacy since the fall. But we have to do something with that. We have to cultivate in them love for God, which is sometimes abstract. It's good that we're Orthodox because they can kiss the cross. It's a beautiful thing. I watch these little ones kiss the cross, and they kiss it with all devotion, all attention, all care, Did you ever watch these little ones when they kiss? It's just a beautiful thing. And then something happens. Something happens unless we keep cultivating it. And I was telling somebody the other day, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old. You have to keep on top of each change of season. Each change of season brings its own self-love, or versions of self-love. 15, 18, 21, 50, 60, you know. It never stops. The attacks, or let's say, the bogey's meat, right? The temptations that keep coming and coming and coming, and they never stop. So we have to do something about them all the time, 24/7, from now to the end of life. We have to substitute something for that temptation that sometimes we say, oh, that's so good. If I could just do that, even if it's a little sin, I'll at least be resting somehow. And people do it all the time. We do it all the time. We give in to that self-love, to that draw at self-love, which you just only need, and the reason why it's such a popular expression, John 3:16, is because it's an inspirational gift, a divine gift. He gave His only begotten Son. Who among us could do that? Even Abraham, the great saint, patriarch of old, struggled with being asked to give his only son. He was going to do it. Why did he struggle? Can you imagine, like, walking up and his son Isaac is asking him a million questions, like, Father, where is the sacrifice? Where is the lamb for the sacrifice? And he's like thinking, oh my gosh, I'm being asked to make you the sacrifice. Wow. That's a tough one. That's one of those Old Testament Bible studies. But nevertheless, sometimes we'll be asked in big ways to go up on the cross. Huge ways. So you know what, my dear American friends? All the little ways, because we're only struggling this much, most of us. You know, the little ways that we're asked to go up on the cross, we embrace it. We hold it to ourselves. Because why? It's a small way for me to show true love, to practice, to attain true love, to acquire real sacrificial, humble love. And again, that's not, quote unquote, normal in the world. It's something extraordinary. That's why Christ, the God-man, never forget that He's God as well. When He went up on the cross, that event was so amazing, so unbelievable, that the saints of the church and the teachers of the church, they say, how could you think of anything else in your life? You know, like, even when you're doing your tasks or doing your mundane jobs or your trips or your relationships or whatever, how could that awesome gift not be remembered or like permeate everything, run through everything that we do? Oh my gosh, today it rained and I didn't want it to rain. But what is that compared to the fact that God gave Himself for me? He went up on the cross and died viciously for me, rose from the dead for me. What, isn't that on your mind every day? Isn't that something that's like, oh my gosh, this big major disaster, this lack of love happened today. But so what? I can rest in this love, and I can try to practice it. See, belief is not enough. Without let us love one another, that with one mind we make you fast. Belief is not enough. You know, you can hear the voices of old say, you know, the devil believes. He believes in God. Well, what good does it do him? He's not doing anything about it. He's not changing. He's not loving. He's not loving the Master. He's not loving even his fellow demons, for that matter. He's loving himself. And he hates as a result. He turns everything on its head and then starts to try to take us into his camp. Try to take us into his self-love somehow. And only this undoes that. Only this changes that. Think of your life. This week, last week, week before, whatever. Put your life together and think, what have I done that can compare to this? What have I done that can even participate a little bit in this? And you have done some things like that. Maybe few and far between. Maybe a lot. That depends on the quality of our, what we call the spiritual life, the inner life. How I'm living that, even outwardly. What have I done yesterday, the day before? Was I so concerned with myself that I forgot about this fundamental, central reality? Maybe. I was so concerned with, getting enough to eat. Or doing this sinful thing. Or harming someone with a word or something else. Or thinking stray thoughts. Well, that's what the whole world does. And yet, in all of that sinful kind of stuff, the world wants us to have this thing called universal love. Universal love. Love everybody no matter what they're doing. Love everybody no matter what they're believing. No love? All right. We were in Jerusalem a few years ago, and we were blessed to have an audience with the patriarch of Jerusalem. He said to us, I don't know, he was talking about universalism for some reason, like the universal love that has always been talked about, like between faiths, between nations, between whatever. But no basis for it. There's no basis. He said, do you know what our universalism is? It's Jesus Christ. Oh, beautiful. Our universalism is Jesus Christ. If you have Jesus Christ, you have love, real love for each other. How will you know they're Christians? Scriptures say, by their love, by the quality of their love. Not by their pride, not by their arrogance, not by the fact that they say, well, we have so much, we have many churches, we have big, communities, we have this. No. You will know them by their humble, sacrificial love, and that they believe in that, and that they live that. If you say, I believe, but you don't live, guess what? We're not really Christian. We have to do something, and that something is we just have to love. Sacrificially. Till it hurts. Until we die. Even if we need to die for that love. Because He died for that love. He rose again and transfigured that death into a living love. Resurrected love. And you can do the same. After the resurrection, you will be called either to condemnation, the Scripture says, or to live this life of eternal love. Why are we so wanting to be with Christ forever? Not because we're afraid of being away from Him, like in the other place or something like that. This is like kindergarten. We don't want to be away from Christ because of that love. Lord, I want to be with you always. But you'll never know that if you're not practicing it in this life. If I'm not practicing that kind of love in my marriage, in my family, with my children, loving myself way less and way less and way less, and loving the other more and putting them way up. And if everybody's doing that with each other, gosh, will we not have a family of saints? Will our children not be like holy, the holy ones? And will our church not really be invitational, inspirational? And people will walk in there and they can experience that even if they don't even know what they're experiencing. We've seen it. People walk in the church and they say, what is this? They're feeling the love that's permeating the walls. All the prayers that have been like embedded in the icons as you prayed like on your knees and with tears and falling on your face. For each other. For each other, for the world. For the state of things, which is not normal. Not normal. That's why it's so beautiful to have saints, like the ones who, some of them had pretty rough beginnings. They had to really dig in on this not loving oneself. Sometimes it happened overnight. Sometimes it took a long time, many years, for them to cultivate that. Because you can't really love God, like St. Maximus says, You can't really love God any more than you love your worst enemy, whoever that is. The one who hates you the most, or the one who you struggle with the most, and you get a little bit aggravated with them. Okay, that aggravation, that frustration, people use euphemisms, for real anger, real hurt. They say frustration. But it's resentment, and it's sometimes rage, and who knows what. And you can only love God that much. And the guardian angel tucks his head under his wing, because that's not the way it was supposed to be. Love them no matter what they do to you. Did you hear that? Love them no matter what they do to you. And you don't have to trust people. You don't have to make them like your bosom, like put them in the inner chamber of your heart. You probably have one or two people there only, and that's good enough for most people. But you have to love them. You have to forgive anything they do. We hear a lot of harsh words these days, sharp words, deep divisions, right? Harm done to each other. And all it takes to just literally wipe that slate is, I take this person, remember this from Elder Porphyry? I take this person, I have Christ in my heart first of all, filling my heart, loving Him so much, and I take that person and I put them right in there. I sort of drown them in that love, right there. No matter what I've done to them, no matter what they've done to me, no one can take that away from you. No one can deprive you of that kind of love. If you have that kind of love, nothing will offend you, nothing will bother you. But it takes a certain sacrificial humility like this. This is why Christ wasn't ever disturbed by any problem, even deep problems, even like catastrophes. He had this cross ahead of him. He foreknew that this was coming. And I tell you should foreknow that this is coming. This is coming. For all of us, either individually or collectively, it's coming. And how did he handle it? Did he panic and whimper and try to get away from it? No. Not even when he quoted in Gethsemane, when he said, Father, take this cup away from me. That wasn't really what so many other teachers make that out to be. That was Christ saying, Father, we did not invent this thing called death. It's not a good thing. Let's take it away. But not my will, which is still His will. Not my will, but your will be done. Which means that we will pass through this thing in order to transfigure it. To make it the cross that we put flowers around and decorate and put fragrances on, because that's what it becomes. I'll pass through this cross. I'll pass through this death, which we did not create, but we will make it something different, something new, something other, something that brings new life. That's why we call it, the weapon of peace. You could substitute love, the weapon of love, the weapon of sacrificial, humble love. Okay? Don't be ashamed of the cross ever. Make the sign of the cross everywhere. Make the sign of the cross instead of fighting with someone. Just say, forgive me. Forgive us. We can solve a lot of problems with this Holy Cross. And yet, little by little, it's vanishing more and more out of the world. It's being tucked away, hidden, not allowed to be in public places, all the rest of it. You know what? My dears, this is something that is worth dying for. So you have to do it. You have it already on you when you were chrismated. The svragis, the seal, the gift of the Holy Spirit on all my senses. You have it. You are the cross somehow. You are the sacrificial, humble love of Christ. So now all you have to do, how about this, is live for it and die too. That's all you have to do. I say it as if it's the easiest thing. It can be. We have to get rid of the other part, the self-love. Do you love anything more than you love taking your cross? I don't know. Do you like passions too much? Do you like What's some passions? Drinking too much, eating too much, drugs, sexual activity, all that. Do you love any of that? Do you love just climbing mountains more than you love Christ? Do you love watching TV more than you love Christ? You love even reading, even if they're spiritual books, more than you love Christ. It's time that we weed out not just all the evil things, but even the things that are taking us away from Christ and thereby making it sort of an evil thing. Even if it's a neutral thing. This is big work, but this is holy work. This is a huge job, but you have the rest of your life to do it. As Jesus looks ahead to the cross, he never stops serving. He never stops loving, no matter what they're doing to him. As you look ahead to your cross, even if it's just your earthly death, right? As you look ahead to the cross, have the joy, because the hymn says, through the cross, joy has come into all the world. Through the cross, joy has come into all the world. What? It's sorrow, yeah, but it's a sorrowful joy. It's a joyful sorrow. Joy has come into all the world, because now, through the cross, beyond the cross, within the cross, you can say, is your real life. And you don't have to worry about yourself anymore, because Christ has taken all of this up on the cross with you. So just participate in it. Just become the cross in your own life, which is, I'm ready to sacrifice myself. Surprise each other. Surprise each other. When something happens, be the love of Christ on the cross. And you will surprise and inspire many people around you. In fact, you will gain many brothers and sisters. Even if they don't know it, you in your heart will know it. Because that's the power of precious and life-giving cross. It's beyond any earthly thing. God has done something most amazing here, and He changes the course, not only of human history, but of your history, your life. That can be from today, tomorrow, whenever you decide to go down at the foot of the cross, beg Him for His forgiveness, and then go up on the cross, or at least take it. So I'll share that cross with you, Lord, because I love you, not because I'm afraid, not because I'm confused or struggling, and that looks like a good way. Because I love you, and I always want to be with you. I want to be with you from now to the end of the ages.